Hi, I'm Shimelle and I am here all the way from England to do my very first page with my brand new collection. I'm here at Scrapbook.com with Sparkle City, brand new collection that is ready to go in March. So today I want to do this very first page and I'm going to focus on using a small photo and a paper that I love. So I'm choosing a paper here that has a big pattern and it looks like this. It's called Tour Guide. And it has a big map with all sorts of different city icons on it, but also lots of trees in case you live in somewhere that's not quite so skyscrapery. And a nice little pink floral on the back. And what I wanted to do was to take some sort of technique where I could use this pattern and keep almost all of the pattern on show. And it's a great big 12 by 12 page, but I'm just going to use one tiny little Instax photo. And I don't do that on every page because then it would take an awful lot of albums to scrapbook all my photos. But every once in a while, I really enjoy that. And Instax photos are one of those things that I just think that there's something a little extra special on their own. They're kind of like a little embellishment as a photo. And so it's a good way to play with a new paper that you like. I've made this with a cut file from Paige Evans and cut this on the silhouette so that there are all these little butterflies. You run the whole page through the silhouette to cut out the little shapes, and then you just go around and fold them up to get that texture, and it's going to show a little bit of pattern underneath. So what I'm going to do right now, it's just sitting on white cardstock, but I'm going to back this with some different colors so that I get butterflies in 3 different colors, each in a ring. So I just need to start from the center and find a paper that I would like. So let's keep that the right side up so that I can see what papers will look lovely underneath. I want a little bit of contrast, but I want to use colors that are already there in the pattern. So I'm going to start with the darkest color in the middle of the circle. So I want to find something in that darker blue. Well, let's see what we could have a look at and take some papers. Now, B-sides often work really well for filling in those little gaps because they're smaller scaled patterns, and that means that I don't need to have as much of them for the eye to understand what's going on there. So I'm going to use something like this. Perfect. A darker blue in the middle. And then the other 2 colors that are really present in this pattern are the pink and yellow accents. So I think I will have some yellow, teeny tiny polka dots. And let's find a pink as well. I've got some pink with some little white dots. Now both of these are dot-based patterns. And I originally thought I would have that darker one in the middle, but I kind of like the idea of separating the 2 dots. So I think I'll go in this order and I'll have the pink in the middle and then the blue and then the yellow on the outside of the paper. So now all I need to do is roughly cut these into the right shape. I don't need to worry too much because the cutting line is not going to show. And that's one of my favorite things about working on the back of the cut file because it doesn't have to be perfect at all. So to start this technique, I just need to take that the pattern for the smallest circle and put it underneath, and I don't even need to go in the center of the page, and find where my corners are so that I can just take a tiny pencil mark and get the idea of the size of that circle. Then I can just roughly cut that out with scissors. Doesn't need to be perfect in any way because it's not going to show. It just needs to cover those butterflies. And so what I tend to do is then piece it together. And it doesn't need to be perfect. You'll see that this is not. And it's gone a little, because this is the corner, it's gone a little further out here. And I've not covered up that butterfly just yet. So that's okay. Just round this up. And I'll go ahead and stick that in place. And then I've got a little gap there I need to cover, but that's not a problem. So I just put my adhesive right on the pieces that are going to remain flat. So it's the pieces in between the butterflies in this case. And right here in the center. And then if I have any little extra pieces like this that I need to cover, I can actually just come in with the scraps because once I'm designing on top of the butterflies on the other side, none of that is going to be a problem. So this is a really forgiving technique. You can be as precise as you want if that gives you great joy, but nobody's going to know if it's pieced together like this. So now I have little pink butterflies showing there, and I just repeat that with my 2 other patterns, getting the circle a bit bigger. And then last circle is going to be the yellow. I don't need to trim this one at all because I can just make it the entire background. What I will do in this case is I'm going to snip off a little bit from the corners so that I can use that same pattern to come back onto the top layer of the page when I'm layering behind my photo. I just need a tiny little bit of this yellow. I wouldn't need to cut into another sheet that way. I can just use this little bit from the background. I'm going to glue all of that, and I'm going to go ahead and take my branding strips off. Both of these papers do have strips that I could use in the layers. Go ahead and save those and put them on the desk. I really like to keep my branding strips in sight when I am scrapping because it then gives me an extra pattern, extra bit of color that I can bring into the layout. But if I take them away from my desk, then I forget about them. So if I keep them on the desk, I'm a lot more likely to use them. I keep them right next to the layout, so I can see what little extras I have to add in. And for the adhesive here, right around this space, and just a tiny bit at the outside of the butterflies, just to make sure everything is nice and secure. Line these up. And then just give all those butterflies a little pinch so that I can see the color behind. Now, depending on how you work with pages in your albums, you may or may not want to add something to the butterflies themselves to keep them up. The way I store my pages, they go straight into my albums after they're finished. And my albums are all kept vertically on the shelf, which means things don't get squished as long as I don't put too many pages in the album. And so I don't need to add a lot of extra adhesive to keep some dimension here. But if you find that when you put something like this into your album, it just smashes flat again, you can take tiny little pop dots, put it under every single wing, just put it really close to the center so that you're not going to see the adhesive, and you'll keep that dimension even if things get a little smushed. It's okay. Also, that's a technical crafting term, smushed. So I'm going to go right to the middle of the butterflies now with my tiny little Instax photo and add some layers. Well, I have these here already. So I'm going to go ahead and place one of these triangles right behind the photo. And the black and white might be a little bit too extreme to add in, but this pattern I think will work quite well. So I'm going to put just a little strip of that behind there. Now, while I'm just layering this up, let me tell you a little bit about Sparkle City as a collection, because you may have used a collection before called Glitter Girl, which is one of my previous collections, one of my favorites, definitely very close to the heart in its colors, its sentiment, and the idea that all of us could have an alter ego to kind of save the day. And I really wanted to come back to that idea at some point, and it seemed the right time to do it. And Sparkle City is where Glitter Girl lives. Throughout the collection, there's a tiny bit of nod to superhero kind of ideas, but nowhere near as in your face as the Glitter Girl collection. And what I wanted it to feel like was that all of the things in this collection, all the motifs and things, are things from everyday life that can be very special, just depending on how you take your day and what happens. And it might be that you are the superhero in any given day. Not to underestimate that. So let's have a look at some embellishments that we could add to that. So I've got some of the ephemera here. And we've got lots of things like places to go for lunch, and pigeons, because I have pigeons in the background of a lot of my photos. So I decided it's high time that I just had a pigeon embellishment. Shall we have a pigeon today? And the pigeon can go right on the top and sit on this like it was a little ledge. I've got space right here at the bottom of my photo for some words. Well, let's have a look at some rub-ons and see if there's a nice phrase that would fit on there. So I'm going to take this one in the middle that says happy times. And I'm just going to cut right through there. And that way I know that when I start to rub it onto the design, I will not end up with a little bit of another rub-on stuck to my page, which is the only thing that ever scares me about rub-ons. What if I got the wrong one stuck? So let's have this go right across the bottom, and you get a little stick with it so that you can rub that right onto your project. And let's have a look at sticking this onto the page. Now the ones that are underneath, I don't want to flatten them completely because I still want some dimension behind here, but I want to make sure that my photo does stay stuck to the background. And then we can add all sorts of other details like blue letters that I could spell my title that have a nice little different color to the background. So there's blue foam underneath there and then light blue with the holographic foil on the top. Or these that are super holographic, but all different words. And what I love about these are that all of the empty space in between the words, it's all filled with dots and circles so that you can embellish lots of things. You can use them as enamel dots or any sort of confetti embellishment where you can scatter all of those things. So you kind of get a title and an embellishment from the same product. Now I can keep layering as much or as little as I would like. I want to have a little bit of contrast up here at the top, and to make it feel a little more like this was something that was kind of stuck to a pin board or something. So I'm going to add a little washi tape to the back layer here. Then, how am I going to journal on this? Well, the thing I like about this cut file being arranged in a circle is that I have all of the space in the corners where I can write if I want, and I can even write in a circle all the way around the outside of the butterfly. So that is one place where you could put the writing on something like this, and a great way to cut into lots of different pattern papers while still having plenty in your stash and just have a little bit of a special treatment for one particular photo. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and you want to see more from Scrapbook.com, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a message. Happiness is life handmade.